So in this video I wanted to show you how you can use your polymer clay components with other components to make some pieces of jewellery. So this one we're making earrings. So I've got these tiny little hematite stars. So to start with, I've put the star onto an eye pin. So as you can see, I put it on the pin, and then using my round nose pliers I created a loop and then twisted the wire round that loop to secure that star, and then snipped off the end of the wire with my cutters. And you can just see that I'm now sort of straightening up the loop, so both loops are facing forward. And then I'm going to repeat the process. So putting the star bead onto the eye pin. So I hold my round nose pliers about sort of 5 to 7 millimeters above the star. Holding on to the star, I'm twisting that wire round to make a loop, and then taking the wire behind and wrapping it round on itself. So you're securing it in place, and then you snip off the end with your cutters. So that you can get a nice finish on that. And I just sort of then manipulating the loop so they're facing forward and that it's a bit straighter, and then neatening up the ring just slightly. So you can see that I've got those two bits there. And now just doing a little bit more straightening to make sure it's all neat. And also one real point, because once you've snipped off the wire, the end of the wire can be really sharp. So I've used my chain nose pliers to neaten off and push that end of the wire in so it's not sharp. So I'm now threading that little star onto my ear wire. You just sort of need to make sure with the rings that you've got that they're facing the right way, and then using the chain nose pliers I'm squeezing the end of that in so that it keeps that star hanging off the wire. And again, repeating the process, doing the same thing. So threading on the star onto the wire, looping it through. And you can see the wires, it's the smaller loop is slightly open, so you can hook it on. And then you're just squeezing those bits together, the ball against the main wire. So you're closing that gap. So those pieces will stay on. So now we need to attach the polymer clay stars onto your earrings. So we're going to get some jump rings. So this is a process of making sure that you get the right size jump rings. They come in all sorts of sort of thicknesses and diameters, but you need to make sure that you get the right thickness. So you can see I'm just about to pick up the pliers. Now with a jump ring, you never pull it apart, you always pull it open, like you can see in the video. So you can see these polymer clay stars are actually quite thick. So I'm having to open up the jump ring quite wide to get that ring through. And it might take just sort of a little bit of wiggling to get the ring through, but it looks like potentially those jump rings are not big enough. So now we're going to try with a bigger jump ring to see whether that will work. So remember, opening up your jump ring and not pulling it apart. So we'll try again with these ear wires, but you will see that actually the thickness of the polymer clay is not going to work with this jump ring because it's too thick for the curve of the jump ring. So I will show you when you get to this situation, if your polymer clay is too thick, how that you can actually create a loop. Instead of using a round jump ring, you can actually use wire. So there's always solutions. This would work if your stars were thinner, you could use the jump rings, but because they are that thickness, they're probably about 3 millimeters thick, so we're going to use some wire. So this, as you can see, it's 0.5 millimeter thick wire, so we're going to take a length of that. So we'll snip that off. So you probably need, well, I don't know, probably about 5 centimeters, something like that. So you're going to actually take that piece of wire and you're going to thread it through your hole, and you need to get the wire so it's sort of halfway through, and then you pull up either side of the wire so it goes sort of right angles to the polymer clay, and then you're going to cross over your wires. And you can see in the video now that you actually put the wires together and you're going to twist them together so that it makes sort of a nice twist and creates a and putting the two loops together. And then the same process as you did with those eye pins, you take both sides and you're going to twist them round. So you can see I'm twisting the wire around to create a loop and then securing it in place. Now, because it's wire, it's malleable, so you can move it about and get it in the right position. But with stars are quite tricky actually to do this, because you need to make sure that you get the loops on top of one of the points. So it might take a little bit of manipulation. As you can see, I'm using the chain nose pliers just to squeeze in my ends and to get the loops looking good. But you can see now you've created a loop that you can use to then hook on to your stars. So now you've done one part. You're going to repeat the process. So about your 5 centimeters of wire, so you snip those off to do the process again. So you're going to post the wire through your polymer clay star and sort of get it about halfway. So actually on this version, I'm showing a slightly different version. So on the other one, I put both ends together. On this one, I'm showing you that you can do it slightly differently. So I've made one end shorter than the other. I've twisted that part round, and then again that process of using your round nose pliers, you're going to curl them round. Sorry, I've gone off camera, but you can see now that I've twisted that wire round the edge and then snipping it off. So now you've got a single loop. You can see that there's a single loop there, and I'm just neatening it up now, squashing in the wire, so I've created my loop. So now you can hook them on. So on these eye pins, they are the end that you haven't twisted if they are open. So you can, again, like you would open a jump ring, you hold on to your star and you're going to open up that loop. You're then going to hook on. If you can see, you're going to, as you hold it tight, you're going to hook on your star, so sort of squeeze it on. It can be quite fiddly. You might need to open up your eye pin a little bit more, but you can see I've just opened it up. And then you're going to close the ring back up to secure that star in place. So there you can see, look, I've attached your star hanging off a star with the single loop. So I'm thinking probably I will go back and have a look and sort of change that one. So yeah, because I think the single loop looked much better. So never be afraid that if you've done something and then you don't like it to then change it. But again, it's the way at one process because it's sort of quite thick. You can see there, normally I think the polymer clay is slightly better, that probably about 2 millimeters thick rather than the 3. There are some things you might want a thicker version, maybe if you're doing a single pendant or something like that. But I think probably for these earrings, you know, to make them thinner. So remember the process, you're going to put it in. So you put it about, what, a third in, maybe a quarter in. Twist them together. So you're just securing that shorter end, wrapping around the longer end. You snip off your excess. And then with your round nose pliers, so you're going to be sort of about 5 to 7 millimeters away from your star component. You twist the wire round, as you can see there. Then you snip off your excess. There we go. And then you're going to use your chain nose pliers, just squeeze in that sharp point. They are really sharp when you cut them off, so you definitely need to do that. And then you're going to open up your loop on your eye pin, and then you can hook on your star. There we go. And then you're going to close it up with the chain nose pliers. so it's all nice and neat. And just check that they're all hanging in the right direction. So there you have your pair of polymer clay star earrings.